Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview for Thursday, the 8th of October and Friday, the 9th of October, 2015. As usual, we typically do not do a market preview for Fridays, so we'll incorporate Thursday and Friday's thoughts into this one report. So here's a look at the ES. This is the S&P E-mini futures contract. This is the daily chart with daily candles. You can see we've made our way once again almost back to the 2000 level, which lines up with the 61.8% fib retracement of the August collapse. This has been the wall 1, 2, 3 times since the breakdown in August. And so we'll see as we get up here whether or not we're going to stall out once again. Let's take a look at the numbers just from today. By the way, crude oil, we'll start with that. Closed at 48.05, up 25 cents. Still struggling with that green static trend line that you see here. The S&P cash index was up 16. There was a gap. I'll show you that in the intraday look. NASDAQ 100, the NDX was up 26.76. But if you look at it, the last 3 days have essentially been the same range, and we'll see that in a minute when we look at the intraday action. So it's kind of been boring, actually, for this week so far. A lot of gaps and not a lot of action. Here's the SOX index up 9 points, almost 10 points for the session. Biotech's up 64.30. That was a pretty decent session when they looked like they were in some danger of really breaking under those August lows. VIX dropped another point back to 1840, so it's receded once again on the VIX. And the trend index closed at 0.76. The 10-day moving average there is at 0.9. So again, I told you this was going to come down quickly as some of the big numbers from a few days or 2 weeks back dropped out of the 10-day moving average. And we've had a lot of low readings here in the last week and a half. What's interesting about this is, remember, a 10-day moving average, that's the blue line, under 0.85 on the trend, typically leads to a sell-off in the market. So right as we're getting back to that key resistance area, we're getting potentially a big sell-off signal here in the trend. NASDAQ volume closed at 1.95 billion, which is interesting. That's up from the last 2 days, even though really early on we were lower in volume after the first hour's play. We were barely at 400 million on the NASDAQ. So volume was kind of steady throughout the session. Advanced decline ratio back up again, pretty good breadth, plus 1,400 on the NASDAQ, meaning 1,400 more stocks closed up than down, plus 1,729 on the New York. Got Google down 1.64, a little retracement there after a couple days of upside. Apple down 53 cents. Amazon gained $4.46 and is staging for a potential breakout. Looks really good on the chart there. Netflix inside day down 23 cents, which is basically not measurable in Netflix. All right, let's take a look at the intraday action. Here's the 5-minute chart of the ES over the last 2 days. You can see the gap up this morning, headed down, filled the gap to the tick. There was also a great value area play. We made some good money in the futures today. Real clean action on the futures. But filled that gap to the tick, literally. We talk about gap fills and how likely they are, and that's just a textbook example right there. And that was the range for the session in the first hour and a half, and then basically just drifted back up. We were at the VWAP midpoint with an hour left, and then we kind of moved up a little bit more. If you look at the prior session, actually I'm going to go to 10-minute candles just so you can see the last couple of days. So here's the week so far is basically the gap up you see Monday, drifted higher. Tuesday wiggled around from the open, came back down a bit. Closed down a little and then gapped up, filled the gap, and that's about it. So the whole range for the week so far is only 30 points on the S&P, which is not a lot. So what does that leave for the rest of the week? On Thursday, we do have the initial jobless claims. That's the weekly number. The natty gas inventory is at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That's the weekly number. And the FOMC minutes from the last Fed meeting get released at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Maybe there'll be something new in there that gets the market excited about interest rates. Meanwhile, on Friday, we've got import-export prices before the market and wholesale inventories 30 minutes in. Again, I don't expect to do a market preview for Friday. We don't typically do that. But if something should go haywire on Thursday, then we will. Charts, as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you have not taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you make some money for a couple weeks. And if you do find these videos useful, please like them on YouTube. It does help us out. Have a great trading rest of your week.